So we had a terror attack that occurred over the weekend. It's not being called a terror attack, but as you're about to see, it indeed is a terror attack. Waffle House suspect Travis Reinking deemed himself a sovereign citizen, part of anti-government group. So, what happened here is a Tennessee Waffle House got shot up. A guy ran in there with no pants, and he had a semi-automatic weapon, and he started lighting everybody up. And there was a hero named James Shaw who, when his gun jammed or he was reloading, he came out and took the gun away from him and basically, threw it to the corner. So there was a hero. The hero did amazing work, and he's getting some good press at the moment, and it's well-deserved. He burned his hand by grabbing the barrel of the gun, and it was obviously piping hot because he had been firing. At least 4 people are dead at the moment. This guy, Travis, who did the shooting, is 29 years old, and he's had some issues in the past, to say the least. So let me read you here from WFAA. They say, the suspected gunman on the run after riddling a Tennessee Waffle House with bullets dubbed himself a sovereign citizen before being arrested in July 2017 outside the White House. Travis Reinking, 29 years old, used that term, which the FBI has also used to describe a group of anti-government extremists during a clash last year with the Secret Service, according to a police report obtained by USA Today. Reinking told agents he needed to see President Trump and defined himself as a sovereign citizen who had a right to inspect the grounds, according to an arrest report by the Metropolitan Police Department in D.C. He was arrested on an unlawful entry charge after refusing to leave the area. The FBI has said sovereign citizens believe that even though they physically reside in this country, they are separate or sovereign from the United States. The agency has also defined sovereign citizen as anti-government extremists who claim the federal government is operating outside its jurisdiction and they are therefore not bound by government authority, including the courts, taxing entities, motor vehicles departments, and even law enforcement. It's unknown if Reinking's 2017 sovereign citizen self-designation was in line with the FBI's definition or if it played any role in the Antioch, Tennessee Waffle House attack, which left 4 dead. A motive has not been released, and investigators are continuing to probe Reinking's background, which includes several past incidents with law enforcement. In June 2017, Reinking threatened someone with an AR-15, then drove to a public pool and exposed himself to others. Pattern emerging here, said the USA Today Network's Tennessean, citing police records. He has also threatened to kill himself and said he thought singer Taylor Swift was stalking him, according to the Associated Press. So, here's a guy who repeatedly broke the law, repeatedly showed signs of serious issues, and when he went after the president, they said, okay, we're going to take your weapon from you. They confiscated his weapon. Well, then guess what? Soon thereafter, the authorities gave the weapon back to this guy's dad, and the dad gave it right back to him. Even though he's wandering around with the weapon talking about, I have the right to inspect the White House because I'm a sovereign citizen, even though there were incidents of him threatening to kill himself, threatening to kill others, exposing himself at a pool. I mean, the guy was totally unhinged. He showed serious signs of 2 huge issues. One, psychological problems. Now, again, this isn't me saying everybody that has a mental illness by definition is violent. Not true at all. But this guy happened to have mental illness and was violent. Clearly. So you had that red flag, but then you also had the red flag of the sovereign citizens movement, and we've discussed them before on this show, perhaps more than any other show out there. The sovereign citizens movement, they're a terrorist movement, and they've done terror attacks in the U.S. before. And the whole idea behind sovereign citizens is the federal government has no authority, and they think the highest authority is the local sheriff. That's the way it should be, so they don't, and they pointed this out in the article, they don't believe in paying taxes and all that stuff. They think the local sheriff is the highest authority, and that's as much as it goes, and they'll protest any and all other forms of authority, and sometimes they do it violently, and they've done terror attacks in the past. So you have at least 4 people dead, somebody who showed severe issues, as well as an ideology that is a link to terrorism. And listen, that whole part of the conversation is not even happening. Now, they're focusing on the hero, and they should, because that guy's awesome, and he deserves all the praise and stuff. But the fact that this guy, they took his gun and they gave it back, okay, our laws are fucked up in that respect. It should be, if somebody shows these kinds of issues, there should be a due process or a process in place, and then yes, you get to take their gun. If law-abiding citizens want to have the right to have a weapon, and I believe in that right for law-abiding citizens, and for people who pass the psychological examinations, but if you want that right, shouldn't first and foremost be the idea that guys like this shouldn't be able to get a weapon? And then if they get a weapon and you take it away from them because it's clear that they have issues, they shouldn't fucking get it back. So our laws on this are terribly lax, and you guys know me, I've said repeatedly, I'm a moderate on the issue of gun rights, but on something like this, isn't it just common sense that if somebody is showing all these signs of serious issues, flirting with an ideology tied to terrorism and fucking showing doing these deranged actions and exposing himself in public, all that, isn't it clear that his gun should have been taken away? And also, isn't it clear that the media should be talking about this, at least in part, like it's a terrorist issue? Because it is. Now, I don't think it's fully a terrorist issue, because obviously the fact that he's fucking running around naked and shit, and he said Taylor Swift was stalking him, obviously he's also off, and he has these deranged thoughts that are not attached to reality by any stretch of the imagination, and maybe they'll do a test and they'll find out, hey, he was paranoid schizophrenic or something, I don't know. But at least in part, you should be talking about this as if it's a terrorist incident, because it is. The definition of terrorism is doing, violence against civilians for a political or religious ideology. And that's clearly what's happening here. But listen, it is just a fact of reality, and this is what happens in the U.S. time and time again. When you have some sort of violence done by Muslims, they say, hey, it's terrorism. And by the way, in many instances, yes, it is. Because there will be a Muslim terror attack where they're doing it in the name of the ideology, and they tell you that's why they're doing it. So oftentimes that is the case. But the only time they trot out the T word is in instances like that. I mean, did you know that, yes, even the most extreme example of a guy who had a white supremacist manifesto, literally wrote a manifesto saying, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I believe in Rhodesia, the racist state in South Africa, and I'm in favor of the Confederacy, and you go down the list, and he spoke about, oh my God, the pack of N-words doing this and that is terrible, and I'm talking about Dylan Roof. He killed in the name of that ideology, and he still wasn't categorized as a terrorist. Well, then why are we even fucking kidding ourselves? Just change the definition of terrorism in U.S. law to violence carried out by Muslims. Like, if you're gonna be that bad with the application of the word terrorist, then just change the definition while you're at it. And listen, some people I think have the wrong solution to this problem. Some people say, oh, don't even use the word terrorist because it's used so arbitrarily. But my response to that is, no, terrorism is obviously a thing that exists, so why would you get rid of the concept because it's not applied appropriately? My solution is apply it fucking appropriately. Just apply it appropriately. Use it whenever it's needed. So if terrorism is doing violence against civilians in the name of a political or religious ideology, then talk about it when somebody does violence in the name of a political or religious ideology. Whether that ideology is jihadism or whether that ideology is, Christian supremacism, or like when somebody goes and shoots up a Planned Parenthood, or it's Dylan Roof and it's white supremacist, or it's like this guy and a sovereign citizen, whatever the fuck it is. So really, really sad story here. And the thought that really is depressing to me is, and I'm guilty of it too, just like a lot of other people are. But let's say instead of 4 people dying in the shooting, let's say 2 people died. I'm not even sure this would be national news.